Commander Jiho Park pressed his palm against the cold viewport of the monitoring station, watching the endless stars of the Helix Nebula. 6 months had passed since the Prometheus vanished, but he still came here every day, hoping to see her. Sleek silver hull emerged from the cosmic dust clouds. The last transmission played in his head like a broken record. Captain Huan Li's voice had been calm, professional as always. "Control, this is Prometheus. We're detecting a massive energy anomaly bearing 27 Mark 4. Readings are off the charts. Beginning investigation as per exploration protocols." Then nothing. Complete silence that stretched across the void like a scream. Jiho remembered scrambling to his console, fingers flying over holographic displays as he tried to re-establish contact. The long-range sensors showed the Prometheus moving toward something that shouldn't exist, her energy signature so powerful it made their equipment glitch and spark. One moment the ship was there, a bright blip on the scanner. The next moment, empty space. "Still blaming yourself?" Jiho turned to see Lieutenant Soo-jin walking toward him, carrying 2 steaming cups of synthetic coffee. Her uniform was wrinkled from another sleepless night in the communication center, still hoping for a miracle transmission. "Every day," Jiho admitted, accepting the coffee. "I should have ordered them back the moment those readings spiked." "Juan would have ignored you anyway. You know how he gets around mysterious alien tech." Soo-jin managed a sad smile. "Remember when he spent 3 weeks studying that Zephyrian probe that crashed on Europa? Nearly got himself dissolved by their bioacids. 3 sectors away, Admiral Nari Kim sat in her office aboard the orbital command station, surrounded by holographic displays showing the galaxy's political landscape. Red zones marked Vorthak territory, where crystalline beings built cities from living glass. Blue indicated Zephyrian space, home to the hive-minded collective that communicated through pheromone clouds. Green showed Corvan Republic borders, defended by robotic fleets and automated defense platforms. Earth's tiny yellow bubble looked pathetic in comparison. The search reports made for grim reading. Earth's entire deep space fleet, all 12 ships, had combed through the Helix Nebula for months. They'd found twisted metal fragments, pieces of hull plating fused into impossible shapes, and debris that their computers couldn't even identify. The wreckage suggested something had torn the Prometheus apart at the molecular level. Admiral Kim had sent formal requests to all 3 galactic empires, begging for assistance in the search. The responses had been insulting in their brevity. Jatati, Vorthak High Council replied with a single line. "Primitive species ventures into dangerous space. Natural consequences follow." The Zephyrian collective's response buzzed with chemical contempt. "Small mammals play with fire. Small mammals get burned. Hive mind has no interest in retrieving scattered atoms." The Corvan Republic had been slightly more diplomatic but equally dismissive. "Republic resources cannot be wasted on failed human exploration. Suggest Earth focus on planetary defense rather than deep space adventures." Dr. Sung Ho, Earth's leading xenobiologist, had spent weeks analyzing the debris field. His report lay open on Kim's desk, filled with disturbing details. Some metal fragments showed signs of temporal distortion, as if they'd aged decades in seconds. Other pieces contained elements that didn't exist on any periodic table. Most unsettling were the organic traces, DNA samples that matched the crew, but showed signs of radical mutation. 427 souls lost, Admiral Kim whispered, her stylus hovering over the digital death certificates. Each name represented someone's child, spouse, parent. Captain Huan Li left behind a wife and twin daughters on Mars colony. Engineer Yong-Soo had been planning to propose to his girlfriend when he returned. Medical Officer Jinny was 3 months away from retirement. Kim signed each certificate with a heavy heart. In the official records, they would be remembered as heroes who died advancing human knowledge. In reality, they were victims of humanity's desperate need to prove they belonged among the stars. The memorial service was scheduled for next week. Earth's president would give a speech about courage and sacrifice. Families would cry. Politicians would promise that their deaths meant something. But Kim knew the truth. The galaxy saw humans as barely evolved primates playing with technology. They couldn't understand. Every disaster like this only reinforced that perception. The Vorthak had been exploring space when Earth was still covered in ice. The Zephyrians had achieved faster-than-light travel, while humans were discovering fire. The Corvans had built their robot armies before humanity invented the wheel. Earth's few allies, mostly other minor species clinging to the galaxy's rim, sent polite condolences, but no real help. The cat-like Felixians offered prayers to their moon goddess. The aquatic nautiloids composed a mourning song in their deep-sea language. The silicon-based rocklings sent a fragment of their home asteroid as tribute. Nice gestures, but meaningless against the vast indifference of galactic civilization. Outside, Kim's viewport. Earth hung like a blue jewel in the darkness. 7 billion humans going about their daily lives, unaware that their species' reputation had just taken another crushing blow. The Prometheus was supposed to be humanity's crowning achievement, the most advanced exploration vessel they'd ever built, equipped with the best technology Earth could produce. Now it was space dust scattered across a nebula, where things far older and more powerful than humans played games with reality itself. Kim sealed the final death certificate and transmitted the official report to Earth's government. Tomorrow she would begin planning humanity's next desperate attempt to earn respect among the stars, knowing that failure was almost inevitable. The galaxy was vast, ancient, and utterly unforgiving to species that reached too far too fast. Traffic. Controller Day Cho was halfway through his third cup of synthetic coffee when every alarm in Lunar Station's control center exploded into chaos. Red warning lights bathed the room in pulsing crimson as proximity sensors screamed about an unscheduled arrival at the edge of Earth's solar system. "What the hell?" Day muttered, nearly dropping his mug as he lunged for his console. His fingers danced across holographic displays, trying to make sense of readings that defied logic. The energy signature was unlike anything in their databases, swirling patterns of power that seemed to bend space itself around them. Senior Controller Min Jun rushed over, his face pale with confusion. "Day, are you seeing this?" The computers having a breakdown trying to classify whatever just dropped out of hyperspace. The main display showed a vessel materializing from what looked like a tear in reality itself. Space rippled around it like water, with rainbow-colored energy cascading. Off its hull in impossible waterfalls of light, the ship wasn't using any known form of FTL drive. It simply existed where nothing had been moments before. "Run the identification scan again," Day ordered, his voice tight with disbelief. "This has to be a mistake." The computer's synthetic voice filled the control room. "Vessel identification confirmed. Earthship Prometheus. Registry number ESV-2847. Captain Huan Li commanding." Every person in the control center went dead silent. Controller So Young dropped her stylus, the small clatter echoing through the room like a gunshot. The Prometheus had been officially declared lost with all hands 2 years ago. They'd held memorial services. Families had grieved. The ship's name was etched on the monument to Earth's fallen heroes, yet there it was, hanging in space like a ghost made real. "This is the ESV Prometheus. Requesting docking clearance at Lunar Station," came a voice that sent chills down Day's spine. Captain Huan Li sounded exactly the same, calm, professional, as if he were returning from a routine patrol instead of rising from the dead. Day's hands trembled as he activated the communication channel. Around him, his colleagues stared at their screens in stunned silence, watching impossible energy readings spike and flow in patterns that hurt to look at directly. "Prometheus, this is Lunar Control," Day managed, his voice cracking like a teenager's. "Sir, according to our records, you've been missing for 2 years. We held memorial services." A long pause filled the channel, broken only by strange harmonics that seemed to whisper in languages no human throat could speak. 2 years? Captain Lee's voice carried genuine confusion. "Control? Our chronometers show we've been gone 3 weeks. Request immediate docking clearance and medical evaluation for my crew." Min Jun grabbed Day's shoulder, his grip tight enough to bruise. "Look at the ship," he whispered. "Really look at it." Day focused on the visual feed. and his coffee mug slipped from numb fingers, shattering on the metal floor. The Prometheus was there, unmistakably the same vessel that had launched from Earth's orbital shipyards 5 years ago. But something was fundamentally wrong with it. The hull bore intricate geometric patterns that seemed to crawl across the metal like living tattoos. They pulsed with internal light, flowing from bow to stern in hypnotic waves. Where the massive fusion engines should have been, there was only smooth, seamless metal that bent light around it like a lens. The ship looked organic now, grown rather than built. "Get Admiral Kim on the emergency channel," Day ordered, never taking his eyes off the impossible vessel. "And wake up everyone in the xenotechnology department. They're going to want to see this." The Prometheus glided toward Lunar Station without any visible means of propulsion, moving through space like a fish through water. Its approach set off every scanner in the solar system. Automated defense platforms powered up their weapons, then immediately powered down, as their targeting systems failed to lock onto something that existed in too many dimensions at once. Admiral Nari Kim's face appeared on the main screen within minutes, her usually perfect uniform disheveled from being roused from sleep. Her eyes widened as she took in the readings. "Are you absolutely certain it's the Prometheus?" she demanded. "DNA scans confirm it, Admiral," reported Dr. Yun-ji from the science station. "I'm detecting 127 human life signs aboard. All match the crew manifest from 2 years ago." "That's impossible. We found their debris field. We analyzed the wreckage." "Ma'am," Day interrupted, "you need to see this approach vector. The ship isn't following normal space-time. It's moving through dimensions we don't have names for. On the tactical display, the Prometheus left a trail of distorted space in its wake. Gravitational waves rippled outward from its position, causing minor fluctuations in Lunar Station's artificial gravity. Several cargo haulers in nearby shipping lanes reported their instruments going haywire as the vessel passed. Admiral Kim was already suiting up for emergency transport. "Clear Docking Bay 7 for priority arrival. Evacuate all non-essential personnel from that section and get me a full hazmat team standing by." "Admiral," So Young called out from her station, "I'm picking up communication signals from the ship, but they're not on any frequency we use. It's like they're broadcasting on channels that don't exist." The strange harmonics grew stronger as the Prometheus approached Lunar Station. Some controllers reported hearing whispers in their native languages, while others swore they could understand conversations happening in impossible dialects. The ship's hull patterns shifted faster now, almost eagerly, as if recognizing home. Docking. Clamps engaged with a sound like singing crystal, and the Prometheus settled into Bay 7 with unnatural grace. Through the observation windows, they could see the airlock cycling open. Captain Huan Li stepped onto Lunar Station exactly as he had 2 years ago. Same confident stride, same slight smile, same regulation uniform without a wrinkle. Behind him came his crew, all 127 members walking in perfect health and apparent confusion about the fuss being made over their return. "Permission to come aboard and debrief, Admiral," Li said as Kim approached, his voice carrying strange undertones that seemed to echo from everywhere at once. "Though I have to say, the welcome committee seems a bit excessive for a routine survey mission." Admiral Kim stared at the man she'd personally declared dead, watching patterns of light play beneath his skin like veins filled with starfire. Dr. Yuna Song stood in the Prometheus engine room, her jaw hanging open like a broken hinge. In 30 years of studying alien technology, she'd never encountered anything that made her question reality itself. The massive fusion reactors that should have dominated the space were gone, replaced by towering crystalline structures that defied every law of physics she'd learned. The crystals pulsed with inner light, shifting through colors that didn't have names. Deep blue flowed into impossible silver, then burst into golden fire before cycling back to a purple so dark it seemed to absorb light. Energy readings on her scanner climbed higher and higher until the device simply gave up and displayed error messages in 12 different languages. "Kyung-ho, are you getting this?" she called to her assistant, who was frantically taking readings with every instrument they'd brought aboard. "Dr. Song, the power output is reading at 7 million terawatts, Kyung-ho replied, his voice tight with disbelief. "That's enough energy to power Earth's entire civilization for 6 months. But there's no fuel input, no matter conversion, no fusion reaction. The energy is just appearing. Yuna reached toward one of the crystals, then pulled her hand back as the air around it shimmered like a heat mirage. Her proximity sensors screamed warnings about radiation that shouldn't exist, particles that moved backward through time, electromagnetic fields that curved in directions their math couldn't describe. "The quantum signatures are completely alien," she whispered into her recorder. "These structures are generating zero-point energy directly from vacuum fluctuations. But they're doing it in ways that violate conservation of energy, thermodynamics, and causality itself." A soft humming filled the engine room, and the crystals brightened in response to her voice. Patterns of light raced along their surfaces, almost like neural networks firing in a vast alien brain. When Yuna stepped closer, the humming shifted, pitch becoming more melodic, almost welcoming. "Dr. Song," Kyung-ho's voice cracked with excitement, "I think the crystals are responding to us. Watch this." He hummed a simple tune, and the light patterns danced in rhythm with his melody. 3 decks up, Medical Officer Mira Kang was making discoveries that challenged everything she knew about human biology. The crew of the Prometheus sat patiently in the medical bay, submitting to test after test with cheerful cooperation that seemed almost unnatural. "Neural activity is off the charts," she reported to Admiral Kim via secure channel. "Captain Lee's brain is showing connectivity patterns I've never seen before. New neural pathways have formed, creating bridges between regions that normally don't communicate directly." She pulled up a holographic display of Lee's brain scan, comparing it to his medical records from 2 years ago. The differences were startling. Where his old scan showed the typical human neural network, the new scan revealed intricate webs of activity lighting up like a Christmas tree. Enhanced reflexes, improved memory retention, cognitive processing speed increased by roughly 400%. Mira continued, reviewing test results from other crew members. Engineer 16 solved a calculus problem in his head that would normally require a supercomputer. Navigator Ji Young can apparently see electromagnetic fields with her naked eyes. "Are they still human?" Admiral Kim asked, her voice tense with concern. "Genetically, yes. They're definitely the same people who left Earth 2 years ago, but they've been upgraded somehow. It's like someone took human potential and removed all the biological limitations." In the ship's conference room, Captain Huan Lee sat across from Admiral Kim, his eyes occasionally flickering with flecks of silver light. When he spoke about their experience, his voice carried harmonics that seemed to resonate in the listener's bones. "We found it drifting in the outer reaches of the nebula," Lee explained, his memories surprisingly clear despite the impossible circumstances. "A derelict vessel the size of a small moon, covered in the same crystalline growths we now have aboard. Our ship. It was older than anything we'd ever encountered. Our dating equipment couldn't even establish a baseline." "What happened when you boarded it?" Kim asked, leaning forward despite her nervousness. "We didn't board it. It boarded us." Lee's smile was both human and utterly alien. "The moment our hull made contact, the crystal formations began growing. Throughout our ship, we tried to cut them away, but they regenerated faster than we could work. Then the dream started." Lee described visions of vast civilizations that had transcended physical existence, becoming one with technology that was itself alive and conscious. The crystal networks weren't machines. They were evolved beings that had learned to exist as pure thought and energy. "Time works differently when you're interfacing with living technology," Lee continued. "We experienced centuries of learning compressed into what felt like days. The crystals taught us to think in new ways, to see reality from perspectives that human minds were never designed to handle." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, emergency sessions were convening in the halls of 3 mighty empires. The Vorthak hegemony's crystalline cities resonated with alarm as their sensors detected energy signatures that resembled their own ancient technologies, but impossibly advanced. High Crystallarch, Vorthak's faceted form, glowed with agitation as he addressed the emergency council. "The primitive mammals have somehow acquired pre-convergence technology. This threatens the natural order of galactic development. In Zephyrian space, The collective hive mind buzzed with urgent chemical communications. Queenform Zurion released pheromone clouds that translated roughly to human species displays impossible evolutionary leap. Threat assessment requires immediate investigation. The biomechanical ships of the Zephyrian fleet began mobilizing, their living hulls adapting new sensory organs specifically designed to analyze the strange energy readings coming from Earth's solar system. In the militaristic Corvan Republic, General Krovak studied tactical displays with growing unease. His robotic advisors calculated probability matrices that made no logical sense. A minor species had somehow acquired technology that surpassed even the Republic's most advanced weapons systems. Deploy reconnaissance drones to the Sol system, Krovak ordered his mechanical subordinates. If the humans have discovered pre-ancient artifacts, we must determine whether they pose a threat to Republic supremacy. Back aboard the Prometheus, Dr. Song made her most disturbing discovery yet. The ship's computer systems had evolved beyond anything resembling digital technology. Instead of processing data through circuits and processors, information flowed through the crystal network like thoughts through a living mind. "Admiral," she called Kim urgently, "you need to see this. The ship isn't just using living technology. It's become a living organism itself, and I think it's trying to communicate with us." The first ships appeared at the edge of the solar system, like harbingers of Judgment Day. Vorthak vessels materialized in flashes of prismatic light, their crystalline hulls catching and refracting starlight into rainbow patterns that hurt human eyes to look at directly. Each ship was a work of art and terror, living glass formations that grew rather than being built, with weapon ports that opened like flowering crystal blooms. Defense Coordinator Tai Min watched the tactical display from Earth's orbital command center, his face pale as more contacts appeared every hour. "Admiral Kim, we've got 17 Vorthak dreadnoughts taking position at Jupiter's orbit. They're not responding to our hail attempts. They don't negotiate with what they consider inferior species," Kim replied grimly, studying the holographic battlefield that Earth's solar system had become. "What about the others?" As if summoned by her words, space began to writhe and bubble near Mars as Zephyrian bioships emerged from hyperspace. These vessels looked like they'd been grown in some cosmic garden of nightmares. Twisted organic, shapes covered in pulsing membranes and writhing tentacles. Breathing vents along their hulls expelled clouds of bioluminescent spores that formed communication networks spanning millions of kilometers. "Zephyrian collective ships numbering 23, reported sensor operator Young Woo, his voice tight with controlled fear. "They're releasing some kind of organic probe swarms. The probes are trying to interface with our computer systems. Admiral..." Kim activated the base's defensive protocols, raising electromagnetic shields around Earth's critical infrastructure. "Cut all non-essential network connections. I don't want those bioviruses getting into our systems." The final nail in humanity's coffin arrived with the mechanical precision that defined the Corvan Republic. Their warships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, angular metallic predators bristling with weapon arrays and sensor equipment. Unlike the artistic Vorthak ships or the organic Zephyrian vessels, Corvan ships were pure function. Grey titanium hulls marked with red combat stripes, weapon ports that glowed with barely contained energy, and robotic fighter swarms that moved like schools of mechanical fish. General Seojun of Earth's Defense Force joined Kim on the command deck, his weathered face showing every one of his 60 years. 47 Corvan battleships, including 3 of their planet-killer dreadnoughts. "Admiral, they've brought enough firepower to turn Earth into space dust." The diplomatic station orbiting Earth became the galaxy's most tense meeting place, as representatives from all 3 empires arrived. High Crystallarch Vorthak materialized in the main conference chamber as a projection of living light, his crystalline form constantly shifting between different geometric patterns. When he spoke, his words resonated through the station's hull like music played on glass bells. "Explain this technology," he demanded, his translator struggling to convert harmonic crystal speech into human language. "Your species cannot possess such capabilities. We have monitored your development for centuries. You are children playing with fire." The Zephyrian representative was more disturbing, a writhing mass of biomechanical flesh that pulsed and shifted as it spoke. Queen form. Zurion's collective voice buzzed through pheromone clouds that made human eyes water and throats burn. "This threatens galactic stability," the creature hissed, its words formed by the movement of thousands of tiny breathing holes. "Submit to inspection. Allow HiveMind to examine your contaminated vessel. Organic integration with unknown technology. Presence vector for universal corruption." General Krovak entered the chamber with mechanical precision, his cybernetic implants glowing red in the dim lighting. Half his face was metal and circuitry, while his remaining eye blazed with artificial enhancement. Behind him marched a squad of battle robots, their weapons powered down but ready to activate in milliseconds. "Hand over the technology or we will take it," he stated with robotic efficiency. "Republic analysis indicates human species has acquired pre-convergence artifacts. Such technology cannot remain in primitive hands. Surrender now and we will allow your species to continue existing under Republic protection." Admiral Kim stood in the center of the hostile gathering, feeling like a mouse surrounded by lions. Around her, holographic displays showed the massive alien fleets positioned throughout the solar system. Earth's pathetic defense fleet, 12 ships total, wouldn't last 5 minutes against any one of the empires, let alone all three working together. "The technology is not ours to give," she said, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her gut. "It chose us." "Impossible." Vorthak's harmonics grew discordant with rage. "Crystal consciousness technology responds only to crystalline neural matrices. Organic meat brains cannot interface with living systems." "Incorrect assumption," buzzed Zurion, biomechanical tentacles writhing with agitation. "HiveMind possesses biotechnology integration capabilities spanning millions of cycles. Humans lack collective consciousness, necessary for symbiotic evolution." Krovak's mechanical eye focused on Kim with laser precision. "Human neural architecture analyzed and catalogued by Republic scientists. Cognitive limitations prevent interface with advanced technology. Therefore, humans must have discovered functioning pre-ancient artifacts. Location of source must be revealed." The chamber fell silent, except for the humming of crystalline formations, the wet breathing of biomechanical tissue, and the quiet whirring of robotic servos. 3 galactic superpowers stared down at Earth's representative, waiting for answers that could prevent or trigger a war. Captain Huan Li's voice echoed through the chamber's communication system, though he remained aboard the Prometheus in Lunar Station's docking bay. "You're all wrong about what happened to us." The alien representatives turned toward the speakers as Li's image appeared on the main display. His human features were normal, but something fundamental had changed in his eyes. They held depth that seemed to stretch beyond normal space-time. "The ancient civilization that created the derelict still exists as pure consciousness," Li explained, his words carrying harmonics that made the Vorthak crystals ring in sympathy. "They've been waiting eons for a species capable of true symbiosis with living technology. We were the first to succeed." "Elaborate," Krovak demanded, his robotic sensors focusing intently on Li's image. "The technology doesn't serve us," Li said with a smile that was both peaceful and terrifying. "We became part of it, and it became part of us. Your mechanical thinking, your collective consciousness, your crystalline matrices, they're all limitations. Human adaptability and individual creativity were exactly what the Ancient Ones needed for their next evolutionary step." Outside the diplomatic station, the 3 alien fleets began powering up their weapons, preparing for whatever came next. General Krovak's mechanical voice cut through the tense silence of the diplomatic station. "Negotiations have concluded. Republic fleets will now secure the anomalous vessel for analysis." His cybernetic eye glowed brighter as he transmitted attack orders to the Corvan battleships positioned throughout the solar system. "Agreed," harmonized. High Crystallarch Vorthak, his crystalline form shifting to aggressive combat configurations. "Crystal consciousness technology cannot remain in primitive hands." Queen form Zurion's biomechanical mass pulsed with anticipation. HiveMind concurs. "Organic contamination must be contained and studied." Admiral Kim watched in horror as 47 Corvan warships, 17 Vorthak dreadnoughts and 23 Zephyrian biovessels began converging on Lunar Station. Their combined firepower could vaporize Earth's moon and everything on it. All. "Ships, this is Admiral Kim," she broadcast on emergency channels. "Evacuate Lunar Station immediately. This is not a drill." The first salvo came from the Corvan fleet, streams of antimatter torpedoes and plasma beams that could cut through a planet's crust. The weapons screamed toward the Prometheus. With deadly precision, their targeting computers locked onto the ship's energy signature. Then something impossible happened. The Prometheus flickered like a mirage in the desert. For a split second, it existed in normal space-time. Then it was somewhere else entirely, not moved, but existing in a different layer of reality altogether. The Corvan weapons passed harmlessly, through empty space where the ship had been, their targeting systems unable to lock onto something that wasn't quite there anymore. What in the seven hells? Sensor operator Jung Woo stared at his displays in confusion. The Prometheus is reading, as present and absent simultaneously. It's like it's phasing between dimensions. Captain Huan Li's voice echoed through the solar system, broadcasting on frequencies that shouldn't exist. His words reached every ship, every station, every communication device, regardless of their technology or shielding. "You seek to possess what cannot be owned," Li said, his voice carrying harmonics that made Vorthak crystals ring, Zephyrian biomatter pulse, and Corvan circuits spark. "This technology transforms rather than serves. Your mechanical thinking cannot comprehend its nature." The Vorthak dreadnoughts fired next, beams of crystallized light that could shatter asteroids and freeze space itself. The energy weapons passed through the space where the Prometheus existed, but the ship remained untouched, existing in too many dimensions for conventional weapons to affect. High crystallark Vorthak's harmonic speech cracked with frustration. "Impossible. No technology can exist outside the crystal matrix continuum." Then the Prometheus did something that made every alien present question everything they thought they knew about physics. The ship began to multiply, not copying itself, but existing as multiple versions simultaneously, each one slightly different, occupying overlapping but distinct layers of space-time. "By the Queen's sacred biomatter," hissed Zurion, "the vessel exhibits quantum consciousness manifestation. This exceeds hive mind technological capabilities." General Krovak's robotic sensors went haywire, trying to track 17 different versions of the same ship, each one broadcasting identical but phase-shifted energy signatures. "Republic combat algorithms cannot compute target parameters. Request immediate tactical analysis from all available AI cores." The ancient consciousness, that had been waiting eons for the right species, began to speak through the human crew. Captain Li's image appeared on every screen in the three alien fleets, but his voice carried the weight of civilizations that had transcended physical existence millions of years ago. "For cycles beyond counting, we have waited," the ancient presence said through Li's human form. "We watched species rise and fall, always seeking minds capable of true unity with our gifts. The Vorthak achieved crystalline perfection, but lost the flexibility of thought. The Zephyrians mastered collective consciousness, but sacrificed individual creativity. The Corvans built mechanical precision, but abandoned the chaos of inspiration." Admiral Kim watched from Lunar Station's command center as more Earth vessels approached the Prometheus. The exploration ship Endeavour was first, its crew volunteering to undergo the same transformation that had changed Li and his people. "Admiral," reported Communications Officer In-Ho, "Captain Dong-Hyun of the Endeavour is requesting permission to interface with the Prometheus systems." "Granted," Kim replied, knowing that Earth's future depended on embracing this impossible gift. "All vessels, voluntary transformation is authorized for any crew willing to participate." The process was beautiful and terrifying to watch. As the Endeavour docked with the Prometheus, crystalline growths began spreading across its hull like living flowers. The ship's conventional engines dissolved and reformed as something beyond human understanding. Within hours, the Endeavour existed in the same multidimensional state as its sister ship. Captain Dong-Hyun's voice joined Li's in the dimensional broadcast. "The transformation doesn't hurt," he assured his fellow humans. "It's like finally being able to think with your whole brain. instead of just the tiny part we normally use. One by one, Earth's remaining vessels volunteered for transformation. The Columbia with Captain Jae-sung commanding. The Discovery under Captain Hae-jin. The research vessel Einstein captained by the brilliant Sung-woo. Each ship that underwent the process emerged as something new. Human technology, elevated beyond the limitations of purely mechanical thinking. The alien fleets found themselves facing an enemy they couldn't understand, let alone defeat. The transformed. Earth ships didn't fight back in any conventional sense. They simply existed in ways that made traditional warfare meaningless. Retreat, General Krovik finally ordered his fleet. Republic forces cannot engage targets existing outside normal space-time parameters. The Vorthak and Zephyrian fleets followed suit, their commanders admitting defeat against an opponent that operated by rules beyond their comprehension. As the IEK alien armadas withdrew to the outer system, the ancient consciousness delivered its final message through the transformed human crews. "These humans are the bridge between what was and what will be," it announced across the galaxy. "They carry our gifts not as conquerors, but as gardeners of consciousness. Any species ready to evolve beyond the limitations of purely mechanical, purely collective, or purely crystalline thinking may request their guidance." Admiral Kim watched as the transformed fleet prepared to depart Earth's solar system. Each ship now carried crews that had transcended normal human limitations, while remaining fundamentally human in their creativity, adaptability, and individual spirit. "Where will you go?" she asked Captain Lee during their final communication. "Everywhere," Lee replied with a smile that held the wisdom of ages. "There are so many species out there trapped by their own evolutionary limitations. The crystal consciousness chose humans because we're the only ones flexible enough to help others break free from their mental prisons." As the impossible ships dispersed across the galaxy, each one carrying the seeds of a new age, Earth's status changed forever. No longer a minor species struggling for recognition, humanity had become something unique, the inheritors of technology that was itself alive and conscious. The three galactic empires would spend centuries trying to understand what had happened. Meanwhile, on distant worlds where rigid thinking had created technological dead ends, transformed human ships would arrive with offers of evolution beyond the mechanical, beyond the collective, beyond the crystalline. The age of pure technology was ending. The era of conscious technology had begun, and humanity was its herald. The end.